Hello viewers, 4DIYers here, back on a tutorial video for everyone. Now in this particular video here I'll be doing a demonstration on how to change the center portion tumbler assembly and code it to your glove box latch. Now this particular model here I'm working on is for my BMW E39, which is a 1997 540i, but this same tumbler assembly here also applies to other models as well. Now, to see what models it does apply to, I will include that in the description below. Now, this Tumbler Kit can be purchased at various places online here, or even at your local dealer. Now, I will include a part number for it below in the description. Now, for this one here, I did purchase was from getbmwparts.com, and basically, what's included in the kit here is a new plastic tumbler here, just the casing for it. It'll also come with new springs, the trap doors here, which I'll show you in a minute how to code those, to your key assembly here, as well as a little container of grease when you're putting everything together. Now roughly this was about $35 online. Now the prices will vary depending on if you do have shipping costs associated with that, or even just duty costs. Now before we start here, what I recommend you doing is putting the key inside this plastic tumbler assembly here. And basically what this does here is these little doors here that are located, they are spring loaded. So what happens when you do remove this tumbler assembly, there is the chance of the doors popping out and you can lose track of which door goes where, therefore we won't be able to code the new tumbler assembly here. So once you've done that, now you will see there's a little small ridge that goes all the way around here, and it's held in with two plastic tabs on the assembly. What we have to do basically is using a small flat screwdriver, we'll bend back those plastic tabs. Now you don't want to bend them back too far, you will break them, but you also want to bend them just far enough so it does actually allow this whole assembly to come out. So just be very gentle when doing this. Normally what I do here, just put just light amount of pressure here on the back side. Now go in from here, pop the one back, and then the other one would just pop back just enough just for it to slip by. And you can see now we have it apart. Now I'll just show you here when you can see all the doors are in place there on both sides. Now they do come out on each side. So what happens when I remove this key here, you can see the doors spring out. Now if you do remove the key too fast, they will spring out, so you do have to be very careful with that. Now when pulling out these small little doors here, you will have 3 on each side, so which makes a total of 6. Now these little doors here, I can pull them out from each side. As you can see here, there's nothing that actually holds them in, and I was mentioning earlier there's little springs inside these. Now if you do look, you will have an elongated slot on each one, and on each end here you will have a small circular opening. Now those circular openings are what holds those small springs there. As I was mentioning earlier, those springs hold the tension, so when you remove the key, these doors do pop out, or you remove the whole assembly out, these doors can actually pop out as well. Now you do have to be careful because these doors will fall out on their own. There's nothing that holds them in here there when this little assembly is fully removed. And when you take these doors out as well, you will notice a small number on the one side here, which I'll show you up a close-up photo just in a moment, and that number indicates what type of door is required. Now each of these doors do have a different size slot or a different orientation slot, which I'll show in a moment as well, and those doors indicate what is coded to your key. Now showing you a close-up of the doors here, now we do have two different sections which were in the package. One goes to the low to kind of lower mid-teens, so you have ones from 11 to 14, and the other ones go into the lower 20s. Now with these doors here, now there should be, when you receive the package, 6 of each type, so there'll be 6 11s, 6 12s, 6 13s, and 6 14s. Now the whole idea is because you do have 6 doors in total for the tumbler, you can have different variations between, but there can be selected up to 6, say, of one number in order to code it to your key. Now to just show you the difference here, we can see this lower portion right here, this little nub that sticks out the bottom. As you do go further up to the numbers here, you can see it does get somewhat larger. So therefore, depending on the number will depend on the size of this, which will also depend on what cut your key is as well. Now what I would recommend doing is actually drawing out a diagram and then labeling each of the doors on the diagram so you don't get anything mixed up. And again, as I mentioned before, the doors just sit in there, so if you do end up tipping this over, then doors fall out, then you will have to possibly consult with your dealer to determine what the coding is for this tumbler assembly. Now you don't have to remove the doors fully, you can just slide one about halfway out and then you can usually see the number on them. As I mentioned before just a second ago, they are stamped on the side of the each of those little metal doors there, so you can determine which one is which. So when we were looking at it here, you go 18, 12, 17, and then the opposite side is 22, 12, 13. Now these are just fictitious numbers I did make up just for the video's sake here, just because I didn't want anybody knowing what the coding was for my glove box in particular here. Once you're ready to assemble the new tumbler assembly together, what we can do here is we can start installing the small little springs first. You want to make sure you don't lose these. Now in the kit there should be enough just in case you do lose them, but it's always just good practice to just keep ahead of yourself there in case you do run into any problems. As you can see, they will fall inside there. Sometimes you may need to tap them down just a little bit in order to get them in place. And again, just like 3 doors on each side, there will also be 3 springs on each side as well. Now these springs do stick together as well, so you want to make sure that none of them are stuck together when you are placing them in there, because something might jam up in the process. Once you've done that there, again, then set it on the one side there, just make sure it doesn't roll away. And the grease that comes with this here, what we can do is just, we don't have to be really generous with this stuff here, because we are sitting in a plastic assembly here, so we shouldn't have to worry about it binding up. Also, there is no, or there shouldn't be any moisture content inside your vehicle, so we shouldn't have to worry about these doors rusting at all, or any corrosion whatsoever. Just put a little bit on my finger there, smear it on. What we'll do then is just take one of the doors here, just rub it between my fingers ever so slightly. Just put it on the outside there. Now we don't want to put too much on there as well, because again this is in the interior here, and what can happen is a lot of this stuff, even in the warm temperature, if you do have too much, it may leak out into your glove box, and we don't want that happening as well. And then just simply put the new door in place there like so. You want to make sure it just sits in place, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the 5 doors. And once you have done installing all the doors, now you do have to watch when you're installing these doors as well, because when you do flip it over, there is the chance for those doors falling out, so you have to be very careful with that. I find that if you do just rotate it while it's on the ground here like so, it usually holds it in place, and it will stay in place until you got the other doors installed. And if you do find that the other doors on the opposite side are going in a little harder, sometimes you may have to just wiggle the other ones on the opposite side, because they do share the same slot that goes across. So you want to make sure that it isn't binding up on that one there, and you want to make sure you're very gentle when installing these. You don't want anything jamming up or breaking. So when you have installed this all together, I just did apply whatever small amount of grease I did have left over on my fingers, just smeared it around the outside there. Again, not being too generous with it, just enough so it does provide some lubricant, but not there's going to be too much where you do have any issues leaking into your glove box or going onto the key, which then could smear inside your pocket. Now once you install the key in place here, again that will help to prevent these doors from popping out, and it also does help to show that you did the correct procedure. Now when the key is in place, as you can see, all the doors on the outside here are in line, so that ensures that this tumbler is working correctly. Now once you finish this procedure here, you can then go ahead and you want to make sure this is installed in the correct orientation that it was removed. So we'll just go ahead and snap it back into place. You can see that the cutout portion was facing upwards like so. You should hear a click when it goes back in, and when you remove it, the key should be fine. Again, we'll just do a little test run here to ensure everything works, and you can see it does work. Give a little push on the back side to ensure that it is snapped into place, and it is. You want to make sure, just inspect the tabs on the outside here, that it is sitting in there correctly. If you do find that it doesn't sit in there quite correctly, this plastic does have somewhat of a give to it, so you can just ever so gently push it back into place there, and it should hold it there. Again, you want to be careful because this is plastic, and sometimes it can get brittle over time, and if you put too much strain on it, it can either fatigue it or even break it. So this concludes the rest of my tutorial video. If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to post them below. Also, please subscribe to my channel and like my video. Thank you for watching.